topic is that is, our present day CHROs are ready to be the next level or the new age CXOs. Well, Amita, I was just going through one of the studies of Dave Ulrich. He's a very famous professor of Michigan University, and he carried out this research in 2014, wherein he was thinking that of the leadership table, which designation has the nearest responsibilities to that of a CEO on the CXO level. And it turned out to be that, while comparing the performance levels and the salary structures and the KRAs and everything, CHRO or the HR segment as a designation came out to be the close to a CEO table. CEO, I'm just taking as an example to showcase that, in 2014, he made this statement that, a CHRO is closest to a CEO or any CXO role when compared in terms of responsibilities. And I feel post pandemic, the role of an HR has diversified. We look out from a different angle while we talk to an HR. He's not just a person, who's responsible for team activities or office functions or rangoli making competition. It has gone way ahead than that. My first question, Amita, what in your view is the new age HR looks like to you post pandemic?
So, thank you, Sugan, for having me here. And first, I would like to wish all my HR friends a happy HR Day. I'm told it's International
Thank you
HR
so
Day.
much.
And I'm truly, really proud of being part of this function. I was asked multiple times in my multiple roles moving out of this function, and I always said no. I mean, I love this function and I want to be here. So really a happy International HR Day. I think, and I also, thanks to Dave Ulrich, and he's the first one who really started talking about HR being as much people champion as business champion. And I think HR as a function has really moved from being more IR or administrative to more enabling business to be successful. I mean, I think HR has now started playing a very key role. And what this pandemic did in my mind is that it really tested the mettle of HR organization across the globe and brought this function as at the core of the organization. And I really want to say big thank you and really want to praise each and every HR member, not just in my company, but in every other company, as they stepped up with the pandemic to not just figure out how to respond to this crisis, because there was no template, there was no earlier learning available. The last plague, the long time back, was like more than 100-year-old, and there was no documented.
Exactly. For a leader, for a CEO, we do have reports, we do have rule books, but for an HR function, there isn't any rule book such.
Manage this pandemic, there was nothing. And they responded to the crisis. They quickly started looking at what needs to be done, how we need to get everybody moved to remote working and still, perform. And, companies after companies and industry after industry, I have heard that during the 2 years, actually the productivity went up a lot. Attrition went down. So all of that. And so they just picked and also were there and to take care of each and every employee and their family while going through the same uncertainty and crisis and stress with their own family and themselves. So I think it really not just tested the metal, but evolved HR as an organization, and HR brought it as the center of the organization.
Right.
So, and also it helped really build muscles in us, which were not strong very earlier. People were forced to do digitization. People were forced to understand technology so that they can get people to work from home. They can engage better. They needed to take care of people's not just physical well-being, but mental well-being, all of that. And organization as well as individuals' demands changed overnight, okay, during the pandemic. And it just, everything, the digitization got accelerated and all of that. So we had to, I think the HR team had to really change the way we were looking at work. We were managing our people. And the new age HR is extremely exciting. It's very agile. It's now very flexible. It's very
Right.
empathetic and caring, and it's very digitally savvy. Because they had to move everything online, and it's also become very strong on communication, because the
Indeed.
amount of communication every so I think that this is how I will define the new age HR. Very agile, flexible, empathetic, caring, digitally savvy, and strong on communication. And I think they also did was, and what HR teams did is that it drove a lot of transparency and built a culture of meritocracy, openness, and trust. With hybrid team working, a lot of old notions. And now that we have coming out of pandemic, a lot of companies have some people working on remote, some working on site, some working hybrid, from anywhere between 1 days to 4 days. It just has it has pushed everybody to change the notions with which we manage the organization.
Right.
Okay, ways of working has changed. And what I think going forward, and what most of the HR teams and all of us are doing today, is that we are just completely reviewing our ways of working. We need to reinvent every HR process and policies to support this new age, way
HR.
of
Right.
working, and way of, and employees.
No, I completely agree with your definition of what a new age HR looks like, because uh, if we see, there have been lot many adjectives as well being added to HR in form of responsibilities. While they were always those responsibilities, but they were always in the head of an HR,
Yes.
never put in a limelight and in front that HR is actually a person who is holistically managing
Yeah.
needs and wants of every employee of an organization and is
Yeah.
actually binding it together.
Yeah. And more, HR needs to really handhold and orient the line managers to manage these three different kinds of workforce. There's some people who are in, people typically, we were all very used to physical meetings and having everybody in the same room, to now some people will be in the room, some people will be working remote. How do you become more collaborative? How you become more inclusive to make sure that everybody is there who needs to take. Second thing is that, the way we design jobs, that needs to be re-looked at, because now with people working remote or hybrid, the focus on ownership, autonomy, and delegation has to be at a very different level. Because
Right.
earlier the jobs were designed in a mind, or in a way that there was someone supervising all the time, but now that won't be there. So the way the jobs are getting designed, way we will manage performance, how we will provide employee a similar experience, and how will we engage them to ensure that, how will we build culture, because again, not everybody is here, and how do you build and give the similar experience? How will we need to re-look at our compensation and benefit programs? So I think, for HR team, it's very exciting time, but everything will needs to be reinvented and reimagined. And we need to really look at how do we create tools and agile processes, how do we remove repetitive human tasks, bureaucracy, how do we drive speed, how do we learn to use a lot of automation, data science, AI, ML to understand employee data and really design the appropriate interventions. So the second thing, which is very important for everyone in HR team, is now the focus on the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today's employee will choose organizations basis how equitable and inclusive an organization.
Right. There is a new measure of
So,
choosing an
yes,
organization as
yeah.
well, and the
So,
ask of an employee to
yes,
provide them with a perfect work life
yes.
balance as well.
So personally, I'm very excited about this shift in the organization, which is the drive for flexibility, equity, and inclusion.
Amita, while I feel it is important as a leader to deliver great performance by helping people thrive, how can today's HRs be equipped and upskilled to perform such a role? Because, you know, uh, uh, wearing the hat of a leader and behaving like a leader, or actually exercising the aspects of a leader, are three different segments.
Yeah.
So while a leader is always mentored on how to be a leader, but how do you think we can upskill our HR fraternity to lead such roles?
I think, one, we need to really get every HR team member to deeply understand the business and its levers, because unless they understand that, they won't be able to drive any of the changes I talked about. Okay.
Right.
Because, and if you want to, if the organization has to perform, then HR has to play a very key role in terms of, really reskilling and understanding that how is the change happening in performance management, what are the new models which will work with the with the new in the new era. Similarly, what are the changes happening in workforce technology? There's so much getting digitized. How can what but there's so much happening, and not everything will work for a particular organization. So really
Right.
identifying and saying, okay, this is what is going to work for me, this is what is a gig, and this is what is a fad, and I'm not going to really get into it. But really picking and choosing the right technology, and for that, you need to really understand what is it that's needed for the business and for our team. Similarly, as I said, I personally, as an HR professional, I always tell people that comp and benefits is something which every HR professional should do at least one stint in, because
Exactly.
that gives you, that's like really the hardware of HR, and you need to get to understand the numbers and analytics and data and design, all of that. uh, how to integrate, engage a hybrid workforce, all of these, for all of this understanding, understanding technology, new age of hiring methods, because now most of the recruitment happening either online, we have not met the candidate, then how do you assess and how do you figure out that you're not being taken for a ride, you're getting the right candidate in. How I so all these are skill part of it. But at the same time, I think on the softer side, developing emotional and organizational skills, developing your empathy and caring side is going to be very important. We all need to understand that the workforce is coming out of a very tough phase. A lot of people have lost their near and dear ones, and they are in a very fragile state. They want to, they are, everybody is right now questioning that, is this what I want to do? You're hearing about all this great resignation, people are questioning their work, people are questioning their life, people are really, so I think this whole coaching and whole, becoming a mentor and being there for people, these are the skills which is going to be really helpful. Because how do you kind of be there when people have are coming out, they've all had, everybody has had some really tough experiences, and you have to bring them back and heal them and get them to perform. So I think these are very different. So there's some very hardcore skills which you can learn, which you can read, but there are very soft skills which will require a change in personality, which will require the way we look at things and the way we interact and the way we work
Right.
with our people. That, so at both the levels, at the hardcore skill level, but at the second level of being a person, HR needs to work and develop on.
Development is actually required on all levels, and per se on an HR level, because now they'll be, if if they're looking at climbing up the ladder of being a leader, then there are myriad of aspects that one needs to cater to. And yes, you very rightly said, they actually need to equip themselves to take on all those responsibilities and perform them on a smooth flow. But there has been actually a trend of hiring people from outside specifically for the CXO roles. We've been seeing. Do you think how far is it possible to invest on upskilling and of the existing workforce to reach a CXO level? And do you think it is a sane idea to actually invest on upskilling the required workforce, or do you think that we should still hire fresh minds from outside?
So I'll tell you, there's always a demand supply gap in leadership positions, and hence, employ organizations end up hiring from outside. Sometimes they also hire to infuse new skills and thinking. Okay, but if you look at it, it's about states the organization is in. So there are companies which have been hiring at the entry level strong. They have strong management training programs. So if you look at a company like a Unilever, or it was GE, or it was Asian Paint where I was, We won't hire, very rarely a CXO will get hired from outside. Largely the people who have grown and been in this company and most people would join as a management trainee and retire from these companies. Okay. And they would fill the CXO position. But if you look at last 20 years, the way our economy has grown, the way the number of companies which have come, and not everybody focused on building talent pipeline from very beginning. So those companies which are either new or which has not focused on building management pipeline are ending up hiring a lot more people from outside at the CXO level. So what we need to do is that's why I've seen organizations where a lot of investment is made in terms of getting the brightest young people in and then training them across all level, or getting in people at the mid level and training them to fill the CXO position. So it's extremely critical to invest in our internal people. And to just give you an example, in Star, when I came in 2009, we started the management training program for the first time, and there have been years when we have gone and hired some 50 people, and we have programs for creative interns, we have programs for legal. So now we see some of those coming in the mid level, but there's still time for us to have, because it's still 10 years, 12 years of experience, so that's coming in the mid level or a little more senior than that. So we need to really be focused on that. And because it's great to have internal people, because they bring the organization knowledge. But what we need to really get them ready is for this new world of increased complexity. We need to train them about outside in thinking. We need to train them on EQ, resilience, overall leadership skills, because business knowledge they get. Okay. So and also in my mind, this whole upskilling for internal people will have to now be very uniquely designed for that individual. It also will be more coaching and individual led versus classroom training. You can do some bit of a classroom training, but so it's very important to have leadership development programs at various levels.
Do you think there should be role switching as well for them to understand this better?
Absolutely. And all the good organizations which have strong management trainee pipeline, which feeds the CXO pipeline, the trainees or people who join, they move across functions, across businesses. Unless you do that, the person will not be ready to. And that is what is needed. So I think it's really important to identify, first get the fresh talent at the very entry level, then keep every year looking at them, assessing them, identifying their upcoming leaders, and keep investing in them. At the same time, different levels has different needs to develop. So at junior level, you will have a different kind of an investment in terms of training, in terms of input. The mid level, you need to start focusing on getting them ready for the leadership level. So you need to have a lot of coaching and training around leadership level. And then above that, at the senior level also, or just I would say CXO -1 or 2, you need to start getting them ready to run business. We need to give them more independent roles. We need to give them more coaching. We need to make them better managers and leaders. So I think it's from just being in the beginning, from being understanding the business and being subject matter experts, to becoming first the team leaders, and then the leaders of the business and leaders of the people. So it will require a lot of sustained effort if we want to be in a situation where we don't want to hire anybody at the CXO level from outside. But I also believe that it's always good to have a mix. So you should have at least some people coming in from outside, because they bring in. What happens if you're in an organization which is only growing people from internally, you start just everything is only about, it's so inward looking.
Yeah, right. And you don't know actually what's happening in the outside world. Maybe they might be roping in some other strategies as well. Yeah,
it's good to have a mix, and it is extremely important to build the whole talent pipeline, and start identifying people, train them, move them around. So I used to say that know them, grow them, and flow them. So know your talent, grow them, develop them, and flow them around. Then only they'll become a
That's actually a very interesting ethos that you've been laying to people. Amita, if we would want to conclude this session and have three key takeaways from you, what would that be?
I think, one, the HR people should really feel proud of what they have done in the last few years, okay, especially during pandemic.
Undoubtedly.
So I think it's really amazing. Second is that it's also one of the most exciting time for all of us to really reimagine the way we have been doing things. Third thing I will say is that open your heart, be there for your employees, be empathetic and caring, because nothing else matters. If you care for the employee, they'll care for the business, they'll give you performance, everything. But if we don't care for the people, they're not going to be there to run the business or
Very
be
true. And
truly
if you actually understand from where they've been coming and how they've been actually, there have been employees who've been loyal to an extent that while they've been getting offers to join other brands, but they're
yes,
sticking to a company because they actually feel that an employer will handhold them in their times of crisis as well.
yeah. So it's
Hence, the
extreme,
loyalty
yeah,
plays a great
yeah.
role.
So that's why it's very important. And a part of caring is to create a culture of transparency, trust, equity, ensure there's fairness, ensure that there is open and honest and straight communication, you know, uh, provide opportunity, figure out, way to provide opportunity for people, uh, communicate about everything, not just about the goals and what business wants to do, but also about how we are doing. And when you communicate, it's two ways. Then you also know what is it that they are feeling and what is it that
Right,
they're
right,
going to do.
right.
So that's I in my mind, there's other things. One, be proud of what you've done. Okay, that's what I want all HR people to take home today. That be truly proud of what you have delivered. Second is that about really build an organization of trust and empowerment and open your heart. It's very important.
No, it is. It is. Amita, it's been a pleasure having you on board, and you've shared such interesting insights. I believe that the people who might be hearing you have actually taken a lot of takeaways from this session, not just three, but many actually. You've given a new dimension in the way of explaining how today's HRs are and how are they functioning, what is the ladder for them ahead, what does the future hold for them, how can
And,
organizations upskill.
and
It's been
I just want to say one thing that we have started seeing a lot of HR people becoming the CEO, and I think there will be many more, because HR really, as you said, what Dave already said, that HR really brings all the skills which is needed to become the CEO and the CEO.
Dave Woolridge's study of 2014 has actually reaped in fruits in
And yeah,
2020. He's actually proved
every
his acumen. Yeah.
everybody should believe in that and work towards that. So all the best.
Thank you so much, Amita. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Sugan. And thank you,
Thank you.
Business World, for giving me this opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amita. Thank you.